good to have you here at our Passover Seder gathering. This is, we think, the 7th year that we will have done this, and we're excited you're here. How many of you are here for the first time? Many of you. So that's a good thing. This is a great learning experience. We hope that you'll have a good time with it. You'll be able to think about it when you leave here and take something from this experience. It's our pleasure to welcome Rabbi Robert and his wife Elaine tonight. So let's give them a hand. A couple things about the meal. We're not going to be eating right away, so don't get anxious. We will be moving through parts of the meal, so you'll get to eat a little bit of it. They're going to be bringing out grape juice and wine, which is part of the worship experience. That's why we can do this on campus using wine, when in fact we're considered to be a dry campus, and one may chuckle at that, but we don't provide wine for students to drink except within a worship experience. We do it on Saturday evenings during Mass, and we can do it during this experience as well. You're going to receive basically 5 ounces of either grape juice or wine. It's not to drink, just to take a drink. Rabbi Roberts will lead you through the process and give you kind of a sign of when it's time to do that. He's going to lead you right through the whole thing, and so we look forward to that. We're grateful, Rabbi Roberts, having you back.
Nice to be here.
Year number 3. He is a rabbi that has made his way here from Cleveland today, so he's a Browns fan.
You bet on that.
There you go.
And in Indians and Cavaliers.
There you go. So he is in great territory right now. I'm just feeling it for all the rest of you. And but in addition to that, he serves the name of
Temple Beth Israel.
Temple Beth Israel up in Sharon. And many of our students over the years have been able to go up and worship with them on a Friday evening. And if you're an underclassman, I would invite you to join us next year for one of our wandering worship experiences. And we'll make our way up to Temple Beth Israel. And he'll lead you through that worship experience. And again, great educational experience as we share our faith traditions in many ways. So Rabbi Roberts, thank you. And we're going to wish you the best as you lead us through. On your tables, there are, I think there's enough books for you to share. So we don't have enough to go around, but I think there's one for every 2 of you, and in some cases, some folks will get one each. Okay.
Thank you. Nice to be here. And I say to you, shalom. And you say to me? Shalom. Oh, there you go. See, and also when we're ready to leave, I'll say to you, shalom too. Because sometimes as Jews, you don't know whether you're coming or going. But that's beside the point. Now, let me tell you what I hope to do tonight. This is a model Seder. It's not a full Seder unless you want to stay until midnight. Do we have any midnight people who are willing? The kids over there will stay with me. So, please understand what we're going to kind of do is walk through. You're going to experience and on your tables, someplace, are paper and pencil. Now, I am a great believer, and you'll see in the service that there is an opportunity to ask questions, and we have this whole tradition in Judaism to ask questions. So, one of the things I want to invite you to do is when something happens and you want to know about it, or you thought of something and you want me to answer it, why don't you just write me a note, and somewhere along the line we'll collect them. And I love questions. If I had my opportunity, I'd make each and every one of you ask me one. But I don't know if that's going to work for the night or not. Now, many of you come from a Christian background, am I correct? Yes. Oh, that's the way I'd like to see you participate. Now, you're going to have to participate tonight. All right? I need you to read. I need you to call out things. I want you to participate. We have a board up there. And one of the things I want to do is ask this question. Okay? Now, how many realize that probably somewhere in history that Jesus observed Passover? Realize that? So the question is, when Jesus sat down at his Passover Seder, what did he learn? Which what I will call are eternal values. That is, it's not only the story that he learned, or not only but there are values that are communicated to us, so to speak, behind the scenes. Now, for instance, I'll give you a value that we're about to see. You know that, are you getting wine or you're getting grape juice? You don't know this, but in the service, you're not allowed to pour it for yourself. Now, the question is, well, I didn't hear anybody say, why can't you do that? So you would say to me, what?
Why can't you do that?
Oh, I thought nobody would ask me. Because this is modeled on a service, a meal of freedom. Oh, write that down, Elaine, a meal of freedom. See, and when you are really free and you're rich, what do? Do you pour your own wine? No, that was the job for the servant. See, we once had that experience as Jews. We were once slaves. And so what happens is, in this particular case, you wouldn't do that. If you were home, what would you do? What do you usually do when you're home? No, I'm not. Wrong house. What would you do if you were very rich? You know, just won the mega lottery. You have your servants pour for you. So you're not allowed to pour for yourself. That's a kind of an interesting concept. So it's a meal of freedom. And as we go through this, and I want you to pick this up. I want you to touch it. I want you to rub it. You know, rub the book. Feel it. Feel these. This is history. This is a developing concept to have a Seder meal. And, you're going to ask me, what is
The Seder?
Oh, thank you. I didn't think anybody could do that either. So the question is, what is a Seder? I'm going to come to that because that's an enduring value. Because one of the things that you love in your life and you cannot stand is chaos. You love order in your life, don't you? How many here like order in their life? Two of them. Right. You know, you like it when your teacher tells you exactly what they're going to do and do it. And you get up in the morning and you brush your teeth. So you need some kind of order in your life. And that, by the way, is exactly what the word Seder means. And I'm coming to that, but we're going to start on page 16. No, you cannot sit down. All right, Sherry, with a whole sense of peace, we're about to initiate one period of our life, or end one period of our life and start another one. And how do you do that? How do you do that? You start with a ritual. You start with, in this case, marking one period that you've left and the next period. And one of the ways that we do this, particularly in Judaism, and then you'll find that the other religions do it as well, is to light candles. And so we light that candle. We're on page 16. So, by the way, that's an enduring value. Marking moments in life. Leaving darkness or leaving the light, starting into the world of darkness. And guess what you can do when you light a candle?
See things?
You bet. You are absolutely, how are you so smart? So you can change the whole world. You realize that you can change darkness with one strike of one match. You can light up a room and change it. Guess who is that candle? If you take your hand and point to yourself, you'll know who the candle is. So, changing light, darkness to light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu v'hadlik ner shel yom tov. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who sanctified us by commanding us to light the holiday candles.
And so we light and change the world. We change the world into lightness. And here comes another enduring value, because when we, I'll get it in a minute, when when we reach a moment, where do you want to be when you reach a moment? You want to be in that moment. And so what it is, we recognize on the bottom of the page, and if you can read the transliteration, you can participate with me in Hebrew. And if you ask me towards the end, someone will get smart enough to say, why do you read Hebrew from right to left instead of left to right? Then I'll answer it then, but I'm not going to tell you now because I need to have somebody ask me that. But anyway, so we would say together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has kept us alive and brought us to this happy moment in our lives. That's another enduring value. Recognizing where you are in life and calling attention to it. Where are you in life? Oh, wait a second. How about somebody saying right here, we're having dinner at a Seder with Rabbi Roberts? Where are you in life, folks? Oh, okay. I thought you died out there. I didn't hear any response at all. And so we say and recognize that we are right here in the moment. And that's what you want to recognize every moment. How many of you are going to live until tomorrow? Well, you might say, I hope so. But guess what, on the other hand? You don't know, do you? What do you know? What? Well, I know something. I'm alive right at this moment, so that's what I know. That's exactly. And so you take a moment. Life is, here it is, another enduring value. Living in the moment. All right, page 20. It is called a Seder because we do it in a certain order. We don't want to forget anything of this particular meal. So there are 15 steps which are done in a particular order. That's another piece of life. Trying to get yourself in order. Trying to have a sense of order in your life. And as I read from one great philosopher, her name is Suzanne Langer, that the one thing the human mind can't deal with is chaos. And so I'll sing to you. And, you can sing. Huh? You going to sing?
We'll sing with you.
You're going to sing with me?
With you.
Oh, that's... I got two Israelis here. Thank you for being here. Kadesh Urchatz Karpash Yachatz Magid Raksa Motzi Matzah Maror Koreh Shulchan Oreh Tzafun Bareh Ahalev Nitzach. First cup and the Kiddush, which we're going to do. You wash your hands. You do some dipping. You need a little bit of vegetables and salt waters. We're going to break the middle matzah. We're going to do some storytelling. We're going to wash our hands so that we can actually eat. Then you do how many of you washed your hands before you came in? Okay, I just want to check here. So, all right, and we'll ask about that because that's important. The first blessing over the matzah, the second blessing over the matzah, the second dipping, I'll tell you all about it, the Hillel sandwich. We get to eat, and then we're going to find the afikomen, I'll tell you about it, and then we give thanks to God for all the blessings, and then we're going to do some psalms and some singing at the end. And so, page 24, we're getting ready for an important part. Now, let me tell you about this Haggadah. The Haggadah is a book in which Jews throughout the centuries have put this order together. The first Haggadahs were not Haggadahs like this at all. They were Haggadahs that only one person at the Seder table had. You know why? Well, you guys are so spoiled with downloading and e-books. What? No printing presses, so they were all done by hand. And guess what that meant? They were lucky if they could afford one. And then with the printing press, one of the things that happened was they changed the whole world. What was one of the first books ever printed on a printing press?
The Bible.
The Bible. You are correct. And you know what that did? You know what that did? That's a good question too. Yes, I'll tell you what it did. It meant that anybody could read it. Anybody could interpret it. It wasn't just limited to a few people. And so the Haggadah, as time went on with printing presses, there are, I would guess, there are 1,000 to 1,500 different renditions and editions of the Haggadah. So anybody can come along, and in this particular case, these two rabbis who put this one together with all these extra readings in it, not all Haggadahs have all the extra readings in it. So now we come to the first one. There, you have to drink 4 cups of wine. Tonight you're going to take 4 sips because you'll never get 4. They won't give us 4 cups here. But you get 4 sips out of it. But you got to take a sip. Now let me ask this question: what value? What's the value of drinking wine? Hey, somebody, a value of drinking wine.
Here, you mean?
What?
You mean at the Seder?
Well, what's the value of drinking wine, period, by the way? Yeah. Now here's our first drink. Hey, by the way, we're going to have some fun here tonight, so don't be hesitant. By the way, let me tell you my opinion about raising your hand like she's going to do. I mean, she has a 50-50 chance, right? She's going to either be right and she won't learn anything, or she'll be wrong and she'll learn something. So, there's nothing wrong with guessing. The worst that could happen is you're wrong.
What's the value of drinking wine?
Receiving antioxidants from it. Getting antioxidants from the wine.
Getting antioxidants, write that one down. Well, that's true. I mean, first of all, what's wine do for you? I mean, doesn't it heighten your enjoyment and so forth? Does it heighten your enjoyment? It might. All right. Indeed, it calls attention to what? It calls attention to the earth, does it not? It calls attention to the joy that you can have. A little wine. Oh, you want to know the secret of life, folks? Would you like to know the secret of life? Oh, please. Oh, thank God somebody said yes. The secret of life is this. It's, when do you go too far? What's the balance point? Everything in life, oh, that's another eternal value. What is the tipping point? What's the difference between having a drink and being drunk? It's when you have too many drinks, right? For your body mass and for what you can accept and all the other kind. And by the way, that's very individualistic, isn't it? All right, so we're going to take our first cup of wine, and whenever you have something that God has given to you, what do? You give thanks. You give thanks. You say, thank you, God. And that's exactly how we do it. And so on the top of the page, I won't do the whole long one. How's that? Well, on the top of the page, you're going to lift up your glasses. So I make sure you're still alive here. Okay, and then at the top of the page, we're going to say, you get to say with me, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam borei pri hagad. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who creates the fruit of the vine. And you're going to take a sip. Okay, page 28. Notice it says that you are going to the first hand washing. Why do we wash our hands? One is with teaching hygiene a long time ago, right? What else? Don't you feel better when you wash your hands? How many here like to take a shower? No, I won't. Yeah, when you take a shower, don't you feel better? I mean, most of us don't have any awareness of how fortunate we are. I mean, water is such a delicacy, and especially a long time ago. If you ask me later, I'll tell you about the phrase throwing out the baby with the bathwater. But here we go. The first of this is we wash our hands, and we do it without a blessing, because although we are going to eat, we are just going to have a little appetizer. And so washing hands means the following, that you're getting ready for ritual. You have to prepare yourself. Eternal value. Eternal value is getting ready for ritual. Getting ready for a moment of sacredness. And what is the greatest moment of sacredness? I don't know if it's the greatest moment, but you look like you have an answer. I'll teach you. Look at me. What do you think is a moment of sacredness? Well, see, that's it. That's not a good answer, though. I'll give you another guess. What? What's a moment of sacredness? Where's a moment where you encounter God? What? You don't know when it happens? Oh, I know when it happens. Every time I bless God for giving me food. Do you realize? Well, you realize that what would happen if you didn't eat, don't you? So what is it? It is a moment, look at the sacredness that happens around this table tonight. Who are you going to meet? Are you going to encounter God tonight? Well, how many know everybody else at the table? You know everyone else at the table? You're at the wrong table then. Not a good table. You really should be knowing other people. But I want to tell you something. Even if you know everybody at the table, you don't know everybody at the table. You don't really know who they are. Do you know? No, you're no. Let me come over to this table. Do you know anybody at this table? You do. Who do you know?
I know Chrissy.
Chrissy. What makes her her?
She's my roommate.
Do you know what makes her her? Then you know her. When we know what makes somebody else hurt, then we know them, and we've encountered God. So, on the next page. On the right place. Wait. We didn't eat, did we? Okay. So the first thing you do is you're going to eat some greens. So get off the Seder plate that you have there. Something that is green. I think there's only one thing there that is green. That's some celery. Take some celery. Now, we have lots of symbols that are here. The green represents... I gotta get away from you guys now. I'll ask all your questions. What's the green represent? What do you think? Have you seen anything green lately?
Yes, the cartoon, celery right there.
You saw that celery. Anything else green lately?
Over here.
Oh, the trees. Oh, you are good. Did you see them a month ago? With green on them? Boy, I'll tell you, this has been an unbelievable spring. I know. It's been, the green was already out. But the fact is that the earth was, so to speak, dead, wasn't it? Up until just a little bit ago. And now we celebrate. And now where's your shorts, everybody? I mean, anyway, so here it is. So this on the table represents the coming of springtime and the coming of the new earth revisited. And so you're going to take that and you are going to dip it in some salt water, which is in that dish right in front of you, that in the middle of the table. You're going to dip it in. Now, salt water represents, see, again, symbols. Symbols are enduring values. Symbols are enduring, what? What? Oh, the tears. How did you get so smart? They put you at this table? Oh, I can see that. Yes, tears are salty. And so it represents the eating and yet the tears of all those people who have gone before, who have dreamed of freedom and dreamed of stories of what life could be. And so we're going to dip that, and we're going to, in the middle of the page, you get to join with me, where it says, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei bari ha'adamah. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who creates the fruit of the earth. And now you got to take it and bite it and swallow it too. None of this stuff before. All right. I have over here, you have on your table some matzahs, right? We're not ready to eat them yet, but I'm going to, yes, just hand me that whole, no, not the whole dish, but just the top right. Thank you. I have here, put aside 3 matzahs. And the matzahs represent, so to speak, the 3 remaining tribes of Israel. But they represent part of a story. And you want to hear an enduring value? An enduring value is stories. You know, in one sense, you can't live without stories. Anybody here a storyteller? Anybody here a storyteller? I didn't ask what you told your mom wrong. No, anybody here a storyteller? We got a couple of stories. I have a problem because every one of you better raise your hands. Every one of you raise your hands. You are all storytellers. We live by stories. Sometimes a good story is better than food itself. Now, what do I mean? How can you be a storyteller? Well, the minute something happens to you and you come back and you say, hey, this happened to me, and you tell your roommates and you, well, I don't know what you tell your parents. That's a story too, by the way. All right? So storytelling is an important part. So part of the story is that you take this middle, there's 3 matzahs in here. Here, stand up for me. Okay, this is like a magic bag. Okay, I got 1, right? I got 2. I got 3 someplace in here. Okay, find it, 1, 2, 3, there you go. It's hidden in there. All right, take the middle matzah out, please. And one of the things we do is we break it in half. Would you break it in half? Okay, and now I need your napkin. I'm going to put half back. You're going to take that napkin. You're going to put that in the napkin. Wrap it up in there so that we can't see it. Because these kids over here have to go look for it. Now, so one of the things you will now see is we take the middle matzah, we break it in half, and why do we break it in half? Well, I'm going to answer for you. I won't put any of you on the spot, but it's a piece of what goes up there. As a matter of fact, you break it in half. It represents, what does a matzah represent? It's a food that we ate in the desert, right? When? When we escaped Egypt. So it represents when you get out there and you get to eat and you are free, right? And when they got there, they weren't quite free yet. So let me tell you that these represent peace and freedom up there. But, oh, Sherry, come over here because you are the peace. Come on, I want to talk to you over here. Do you not teach peace studies here in the college? Does every one of these students take it?
No.
They don't. They should, shouldn't they? That'll keep your job if they all take it. Now, let me tell you about this right here. I'm going to hand it to you because I want to tell you that peace is not yet. Peace is not yet. I'm moving farther away from you. So you got to search for peace. You got to keep looking for it. Because even though I hold part of it, there's part missing for some other people. Am I right? And there are slaves out there. There are people who, well, how about Darfur? Any of you know about Darfur? Who doesn't know about Darfur? Be honest now. Thank you for being honest. For those, you don't know about Darfur? Oh, we got to talk to your mother about that one. This is important for you. Anyway, but one other internal value that happens is the following. Where is that? You still have the napkin?
I do.
Oh, I see. Tell us somebody else has it. I see. Well, here it is. Everything about life is hidden somewhere. You might think you know it all, don't you? You might think that peace is there. Guess what? Parts of it are hidden. And that's a value. Parts of life are hidden. So now that I have broken the middle matzah and we put what is called the afikomen, and the word afikomen, just hang on to it. I'm going to hide it somewhere. The word afikomen is a Greek word which means dessert. So, when do you think we're going to eat that afikomen? Hello? Thank you. For dessert. Okay, so part of it is we're going to hide it. One of the ways of keeping the kids interested is they get to look for it. We'll put it away some way. I have to figure out what I'm going to do with it. And then they got to look for it. So it's one of the ways of keeping the kids interested. All right, next page. Where am I?
Lost my pages.
Page 36. What I'm going to eventually do for you, or we're going to work on, is telling the story. The story of the Exodus is probably one of the most powerful stories that have ever existed. Is it true? I don't know. Is it true with every word in it? I don't know. Is the general theme of it true? Yes. In every society there are those who have and those who don't have. There are those who have and won't let those who don't have. You got that one straight. And in every society, there are those who enslave others. Now, here at Westminster, is anybody enslaved? What? Our professors are enslaving us. You bet on that. You know, sometimes we choose to be slaves in order to learn. Sometimes we choose to find freedom of our own liking. So now we come to the beginning of the story. And we want to tell you a story, and on the next page, we come to a lachma onion. And it begins holding up the matzah. Somebody just hold up the plate at each place there. This is a bread. We could read it together, okay? This is the bread of poverty and I can't hear you. And are we on 36 together? Okay. This is the bread of poverty and persecution that our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. As it says in the Torah, 7 days you shall eat matzah, the bread of poverty and persecution, so that you may remember that you were slaves in Egypt. Let all who are hungry come and eat. Let all who are in need come and share the Pesach meal. This year we are still here. Next year in the land of Israel. This year we are still slaves. Next year, free people. So let me ask you a question. Does it bother anybody that says, next year in the land of Israel? No? Well, wait, you're going to be there. You're going to be there. What's this mean, by the way? What's the land of Israel mean? Because it's an eternal value. If next year all of us were in the land of Israel, then what? I mean, would you want to be there? How many, let's do a little vote. How many would like to be in the land of Israel? How many would not like to be in the land of Israel next year? How many don't know if they want to be? Boy, I don't know. Really? Do we have any Christians here in this group?
I believe so.
You do? And let me ask you a question. If Jesus were to come, then what would happen?
We would all celebrate
And we would celebrate where?
in Israel,
Well, where would Israel be?
the promised land.
Where would the promised land be?
What's the answer he's looking for, y'all?
Guess no. See, the problem is you're thinking too literally. Because the land of Israel would be everywhere. What do we dream of with Israel? What's the word? Hey, I said it when I first greeted you. I said the word shalom, didn't I? The word peace. Where would Israel be? Israel would be the greater Israel all over the world. It would be a world of peace. How many would like to live in Israel next year? Okay. Good. Yeah, peace. Okay? Notice that it says, what should we be saying here under this? Let all who are hungry come and eat. Who do we have to be concerned with? How many of you concerned with them tonight? Are there people out there starving tonight? Yeah, probably some of your roommates that didn't come here, right? Are starving and not going to have. Okay, next page. The search for, I'm on page 40. On page 40, we built into the service an opportunity, usually for the youngest child, to ask these 4 questions. So we teach our kids, notice when they're very, very young, we teach them to ask questions. And not only do we teach them to ask questions, we teach them that they have an important role at the Seder table when we are going through this, that we need them, that we couldn't, so to speak, get away without it. And so we ask 4 questions, and the 4 questions are, what's different about this? See, you want to be asking these questions. Well, how come we're doing this? How come we're doing that? That's part of life. Asking questions and eternal value. How do you learn? Well, you don't open up a book. You should open up a book when you say, hey, I want to know more. I have this question. I have that question. You want to get through college? Ask questions. Ask questions. Ask lots of questions. You want to learn something? Ask even more questions. And so it goes, how is this night different from all other nights? On all other nights, we'll eat either bread or unleavened, or matzah. We'll eat leavened. By the way, what's the difference between the two? What's the difference between leavened bread and unleavened bread? What? Are you a baker? You're a baker.
Tell me about yeast. All these people don't know anything about yeast. They're all students.
It has to be fed, and
What's it mean it has to be fed?
it needs sugar and flour to grow.
Okay. And how can you,
Once you get some yeast, then what?
You have to let it grow.
okay, and once you let it grow, and then what happens?
It
How long
gets-
can you use it for?
Just for that time where you're letting it grow.
Oh, you don't see. You're already spoiled. You probably go to the grocery store to get your yeast and get it. But one of the things we know about yeast is that you can take it from one piece of bread, right? Am I right?
Well, you can take the batter
Yeah.
and save some and start another one.
And start another one. So you can use it, and then eventually it kind of gets flat. And so did you ever hear of spring house cleaning? Your parents ever made you do spring house cleaning? Oh, it's all the same thing. You got to clean out everything. And you start by cleaning out, starting all over again. And so we took this symbol of starting all over again. And we ate this bread, which was made in a hurry, because sometimes freedom comes to you in a hurry. And sometimes you're not even prepared for it. And guess what you do? Enduring value. When freedom comes, when opportunity knocks, you open the door, folks. And you do it right then. You can't say, wait a second, it's not a good time for opportunity. if you want to, well, we never know. Opportunity's going to knock. Isn't there a song that way? Anyway, I'll sing a little bit of this. Well, actually, you get to sing.
What an Israeli accent.
I'm the youngest?
You're the youngest. Sing part of it for us.
Okay, but I'll have to ask you, even though you don't know the lyrics, I can understand this, but when we get to the second part of the chorus, please join me if you want by clapping or by banging on the table. It's fine, don't worry about it, I'm sure they can handle it. So. מה נשתנה הלילה הזה מכל הלילות, מכל הלילות, שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים חמץ ומצה, חמץ ומצה. הלילה זה כולו מצה, הלילה זה כולו מצה.
Look at your, oh, hey, that was good. That was wonderful. I'm going to go over to my wife because she's a fabulous reader. And see down there it says, Izzy, did you ask any good questions today? In this particular Haggadah, this story has touched me every time that I come to this moment, and I want you to hear it. Because, do you like questions in class? What?
Yes.
Do you have any other professors here?
Yes.
Oh, another professor. Oh, a few others. Go ahead.
Isidore I. Rabi, the Nobel laureate in physics, was once asked, "Why did you become a scientist rather than a doctor or lawyer or businessman like the other immigrant kids in your neighborhood?" Quote, "My mother made me a scientist without ever intending it. Every other Jewish mother in Brooklyn would ask her child after school, 'Nu, did you learn anything today?' But not my mother. She always asked me a different question. 'Izzy,' she would say, 'did you ask a good question today?' That difference, asking good questions, made me become a scientist."
You know what? All the great discoveries of the world have been from people asking, how come this does this? How come this does that? Enduring value. Ask questions.
All right, page 36. No, I'm sorry, 44.
So we come to the story. And we're going to tell you a story. Now, the interesting thing of this whole thing, which is kind of very interesting, is, you know the story, right? It's a story about what great person in the world.
Begins with an M.
Moses.
Oh, you are so smart. Moses. But I want to tell you something that is very interesting in this Haggadah story that we're going to tell you is a story not about Moses. In fact, Moses is only mentioned in the Haggadah once. Only once in a kind of, because we're not going to glorify Moses and what Moses did. We're going to glorify what happened to people. And how did we start off? The story starts once let's see. How's that go? Wait. Help me. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh,
Let my people go.
when Israel was in Egypt's land,
Let my people go.
they worked so hard they could not stand.
Let my people go.
Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old why would he say that? Why would he say, let my people go? What's the story about? What's the story about? What?
They were slaves.
I didn't hear
They were slaves.
it. They were slaves. So guess what the enduring value is? You can't let people and forget about what your history was. I want to tell you something about the Jewish people. I'm going to tell you about your people. Since you were there, you're there in Israel. They were once slaves. And guess what that means? The fact that you bring it up each and every year, what's that mean? It means I don't forget. I know what it tastes. Oh, that's what we're going to do. We're going to taste matzah pretty soon. Like a slave, what they experienced. We're going to kind of smell it. We're going to taste it. We're going to breathe it. We want to know what it was once like to be slaves. And we don't want to forget it. Because when you forget history. And it can happen all over again. And so we start off to telling the story, not that we were a great people. No, we were slaves. And you know what we're going to do? We're not going to let it happen to others. We're going to remember. We're going to make it part of our culture and our psyche that no more slavery. No more slavery. What did Martin Luther King say? Where did he get his move, no more slavery? He got it from the Exodus story. He got it from the story that they were once slaves working so hard, and along comes a hero. And by the way, do I have any Moseses in this room? Are you a Moses?
I don't know.
Take your head. Go this way with me.
Yes.
Okay. Are you a Moses?
Yes.
Okay. Are you a Moses?
Yes.
Oh, guess where Moses is? Don't tell me over there. Moses is right there inside of each and every one of us. And you have the power to redeem and release another person. It's there. It's within your power, within your heart. And by the way, are you ready for this one? Oh, where's my professor? Oh, I saw one over here. All right, let me ask this question. Okay, we asked hard questions for professors. Okay, what's the word Mitzrayim mean besides Egypt? Mitzrayim. What does Egypt really mean in Hebrew?
I have no idea.
I know what you would tell your students. What would you tell your students?
I would tell them to go and look it up.
Well, on Google, I know.
So let me tell you what Mitzrayim really means. Mitzrayim means, it comes from the Hebrew root for tsar, meaning narrow. The narrowness. When you escape from Mitzrayim, you escape from your own narrowness. In a certain sense, we are all slaves, and we are all working to redeem ourselves from the narrowness. So, where am I? I lost my page. That's the problem. I know I'm on page 44, but where might want to go is the question. Page 56 with me, okay? Now, we could go through all the stories. Just don't skip the page 56, by the way. Look at some along the way here. Look at some of the cute drawings. Look at some of the stories that are here. Say just because your professor, oh, look at on page 54. Look at that, I got a chronicle. The newspaper written in Egypt long ago. Anybody believe this? Oh, I was hoping I had a bridge to sell you. Anyway, keep going. Page 56 now. As part of this whole story, we talk about, and anybody in education here? Who's my educator? Oh, come on up. I'm coming to you. I'll come to you. You don't have to get up. I'll embarrass you otherwise. Okay. As an educator, what kind of students do you have?
Currently, I'm in autistic support.
What?
Autistic support.
Oh, so there are autistic kids that we have to be concerned about?
Yes.
There are, huh? They're not all smart ones like you?
No.
They're not, huh?
No.
So here it comes. Well, we have 3 kids. Are any of these kids the same? I mean, in terms of their intelligence? They were all born from this mother and father, right? You weren't? You should see her face, dude. So each one, how many live in family with more than one child? I mean, how many have brothers and sisters and so forth? Are any of you like your siblings? Huh? Got different talents, don't you? So one of the things we do as part of this is we tell a story about there are 4 children. There are 4 different kinds of ones. There is a wise one. And the wise one asks wise questions. And then there is one which they call the wicked one. Now the wicked one becomes wicked because he asks the question, what's it mean to you? Putting himself outside. And then there is a simple one. Ask simple questions. One-line questions. Or give one-line answers. And then there's one that doesn't know how to ask, even. And may be afraid to ask. Which child are you, by the way? If you were to say to me, and by the way, that goes up there, eternal values. I am at all times. Throughout my life, I am all those children. Sometimes I'm very wise when I know my material. And sometimes I become defensive and ask somebody else. And sometimes I give a simple answer because I'm afraid. Like, I don't know. Or you sit back and hope that the rabbi doesn't call upon you. So you meld into the... So there are all kinds of people in this world. And sometimes we are all of those people. So an eternal value is that there are many kinds of people in this world, and don't forget it. So take a look at the next couple of pages. Look at some of the drawings of these.
Look at page 63 and on some of the great drawings of those. Okay, page 72.
The story of the Jewish people. The story of the Jewish people is grounded in the following. One of the great sins in Judaism, there are actually 3 of them for which you may be killed. Doesn't happen very often, so don't get me. But there are 3. One of them is what you would expect, murder. The second one is idolatry. Now, Judaism has long stood against idolatry. What was Egypt? What did they have in Egypt? Who was the great god of Egypt? Where's my professor? What was the great god of Egypt? Oh,
Depends what time period you're talking about.
Go ahead, we get into the whole discussion.
Ray was one of the main ones, but Pharaoh periodically claimed to be that.
Ah, there you are. What a great professor you have. Give him a round of applause. I mean, but what is it? It was, and this is kind of interesting, right, because you mentioned the sun god. It's interesting for us that Jews went by the moon and not by the sun. The sun, interesting enough, is the same every day. The moon changes phases. We use the moon to tell time. And this is the first of the Hebrew months. The first month, which is called Nisan. And it's determined by the phases of the moon. And of course, then the earth as well. So, but what happened in Pharaoh, I'm glad you mentioned, because that was the idol. You worship Pharaoh. You did what Pharaoh said. And the God of Israel, the spiritual God, The God that was, you could not see, that was everywhere. That nobody could say, my God is better than yours, because you can't prove it. You can't point to it. So in Judaism, our main phrase is a phrase that goes, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, which means, listen, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. Why the oneness of God? Why is that important? Or why is that so important? Do I have somebody who is willing to be an answerer? See, you get it back to me so you get the answer. Why is having one God so important?
Not sure.
Not sure. Is that an answer? Or, I love guessing, just take a guess.
So only he is praised?
So he's only praised, but I'll even tell you more than that. How would you like it if I told you my God said it was all right to kill beautiful girls with long blonde hair and big sweaters, or whatever color you call it? How would you like that? What is your God say?
Don't do that.
Well, that's it. See, when you have multiple gods, people, the authority says it's all right to kill. You can do that if they don't believe my way. And what does the one God, say to all of us? Are you allowed to kill other human beings? Are you allowed to kill other human beings? No. Oh, thank goodness you're still here. All right, so it's a story of going from idolatry and having many different gods to leaving Egypt, that place, and going to the desert. And in the desert, who owns the desert, by the way? Who owns the desert? Nobody owns it. It's God's. It's a spiritual place. Nobody owns it. It's a free place. Who goes to the desert? Only crazy people. And there in the desert, what happens? What is given to us? The 10? The 10? The 10? And by the way, it's not the 10 suggestions, in case you're interested. But Elaine, do me a favor, draw 2 tablets up there. Just draw, no, not page right there. That's fine. Elaine's already behind because she didn't put an eternal value up there, no idols. Is that the 10 Commandments, or is that the McDonald's? What? You do. That's what I'm afraid of in this generation. Okay, let me ask you this question. How come there are 2 tablets? Why didn't God just put one long tablet? Why didn't God put it on a disc? Or what do you call it now? The thumb drive. That would have been better, right? Why 2 tablets, folks? Do I have any guessers? Do I have any guessers? Where? Oh, this table over here. Oh, who's the guesser?
I'm Brian.
Brian? All right, Brian, give me.
All right, the first half of the Ten Commandments deals with laws about God and dealing with God, and the second half deal with other people.
You get a graduate degree right now. You are one smart dude. Whoa. There you go, folks. There you go. Look at it. The first 5 are all our relationship to God. The second 5 are our relationship to our fellow human beings. And I often laugh that over time, our relationship to God has changed and we've modified it as we've grown and learned it. But guess what? Adultery is still in. Okay? So it's still wrong for adultery. It's still wrong for stealing. All right, where am I going from here? Page 88. when you're a slave, what do you want to say when you're a slave? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Anything you want. The story of the Exodus is what? Liberation. Standing up for yourself from resistance. Changing the world. Who can change the world? Who can change the world? What did somebody do? No, see, the problem was I heard over there anyone. No. How many here can change the world? What's wrong with the rest of your hands? How many here can change the world? This response system, I think, a little slow. Yeah, you can change the world. You know, just take a look at now. I mean, look at the world we're in. How many have heard of what went on in Egypt? Let me tell you a story. The change of government in Egypt started with a single human being in Yemen. A single man who said it was unjust what was happening to me in terms of not being able to sell from my pushcart and so forth. And you know what he did? Unfortunately, he set himself on fire. And that one little fire on that one person changed the entire Middle East. And what is happening? You know something too, don't you? What has changed the world? His name is Zimmerman, am I right? One person? What's it called? Facebook. Has Facebook changed the world? Facebook and Twitter, one human being changing the world. Can you change the world? Just don't take it for granted. You got to stand up for yourself. Next page. Gotta find out what page you want to be on. I gotta turn this one over. Yes. Okay. Go to page 98 with me. Now I'm going to tell you an interesting story. The interesting story is, how many plagues were there that happened? There were 10 plagues, am I right? The background, which many of you don't know, is the story of the 10 plagues is a story of the war against the gods. Each one of these in the plagues were a god in Egypt. Each one was thought, the Nile River, the animals and so forth, were considered to be gods. Just like, so to speak, a white elephant. No, white elephant, no, I don't want to go there. Just realize that all of these, the story of the 10 plagues were the story of the one God against all the Egyptian gods. And so what happens is, by the way, are there plagues today that are going on? There were 10 of them then. Are there any plagues going on today? What?
Every 4 years, the plague of the locust.
Well, locust, so the plague comes okay.
Any other plagues going on? How about nuclear? We're in, is that a plague or could be a plague? What are some of the other ones, folks?
Poverty.
What?
Poverty.
Poverty. Oh, that a plague? Really? Doesn't everybody have food to eat? What other plagues?
Global warming.
I can't. Global warming. What else? You got them. You just got to look for them.
Natural disasters.
I'm sorry?
Natural disasters.
Ne-
Hurricanes.
Hey, you know? So, here's what happens. The tradition for this is, as we mention the plagues, we are to take a little bit off of our wine cups, either with your finger or with your spoon, and put them off to the side. Now, there's two things. I'm going to say them, you're going to repeat them after me. You'll take off a little bit, and I want you to think about this, that your cup of life, your world cannot be full if somebody else is suffering. So that you must always go through your life thinking of what are the plagues of others. My life can't be complete There you go, Elaine. My life can't be complete when others suffer. And there are plagues going on. I just have to look for them and not turn my back to them. And so when you take it off, if you take it off with a spoon or you take it off with your finger, the one thing that you're not allowed to do by my tradition is when you're done, you're not allowed to lick it. And the reason is we don't want to think, oh yeah, that was good. We got rid of those plagues and so forth. They're there. So here we go. Dom. I gotta hear a response. Let's try again. Dom. Svardea. Kenim. Aruv. Dever. Shachin. Barad. Arbeh. Choshech. Blood and frogs and lice and wild beasts or insects, cattle plague, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, the death of the firstborn. Hey, any of you want to pass your test here? Look at the bottom of the page. They give you a little hint on how to pass your test. If you look at the bottom of the page, they said Rabbi Yehuda used to abbreviate them in an acrostic. So what you do is he took these words. All he had to do was memorize those words, and he would never forget what they all are. So that's what, if you want to study for your test, make short words out of them. Page 104. Oh, I have a reading right here that I must read to you before I go any further. You know what the real slavery in Egypt was? That they learned to endure it. We can learn to endure the slaveries of our lives or fight against them. You can put up or you can change the world. Let me ask a question. How many here would like to be happy? How many, you all want to be happy? I'm going to teach you in one word how to be happy. And the word is Dayenu. I'm going to say it again. Dayenu. Again, I'm going to say it. Dayenu. Now, Dayenu means it would be enough. If you only got an education here at Westminster, you would say? All right. And if your parents had only given you enough money to be here for 1 year, you would say? And if they gave it to you for 2 years, you would say? Oh, see, Dayenu means you just got to be happy with what you have. If you want, the saddest people in the world are people who are always wanting something else, who are not satisfied with what they have. And so it is that the Jewish people said, if you had only taken us out of Egypt and just got us out of there, we would have said. And if you had taken us out of Egypt and had just gotten us to the other side of the Red Sea, we would have said. And if you had only given us the Torah, we would have said. And if you gave us the Torah and didn't give us the Sabbath, we still would have said. But you gave us the Sabbath. And you gave us eventually the land of Israel. And it goes, Ilu Hotzi, Hotzi, Anu, Hotzi, Anu. 1 second, I gotta find the page. There, those are wrong words. It's like 2 pages out. Where is it? What? The words are here someplace, I know. What? 104? Okay. Ilu Hotzi, Hotzi, Anu, Mi Mitzrayim, Hotzi, Anu, Mi Mitzrayim, Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. I got to see those hands moving. Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. Ilu Nakan, Nakan, Manu, Nakan, Manu at the Shabbat, Nakan, Manu at the Shabbat. Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. generation, one is obligated to see himself or herself or oneself as one who personally went out through Egypt. Just as it says, you shall tell your children on that very day, is because of that God did for me when I went forth out of Egypt. And that's what you have to do. You got to see it, you got to feel it, you got to experience it, you got to taste it. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go to page 122. We're going to drink the second cup of wine. The second rejoicing. There are 4 places that it says in the Torah that I will redeem you and I will save you. And so if you will lift up your cup of wine, knowing that this is the second, that God has redeemed us and brought us out. And now we say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Blessed are you, our God, King of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. You can take a sip of that. And now if you were somewhere, you would go and wash your hands, since all of you did it beforehand, and we are purified, and we're ready now to eat. And if you'll pick up a piece of matzah, so you got to take a piece of matzah. Hineni muchan u'zuman l'kayem matzah mitzvah achilat matzah. Here I am, ready to perform the mitzvah of eating a piece of matzah. And so you're going to, as soon as we say the blessing, because that's the most important, you've got to realize that you don't do anything in this life without first giving thanks to God. And so we say at the bottom of the page, on page 124, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min ha'aretz. Blessed are you, our Lord, our God, King of the universe, who extracts bread from the earth. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat matzah. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who sanctifies us by commanding us to take a big bite of our matzah. Yeah, is that good? All right, the light brown stuff on your dish should be charosis, should be a maror, should be bitter herbs. Is that horseradish on there? Is that what that is? Is the light stuff horseradish? The light brown is the horseradish. Okay, so you're going to take some horseradish. You're going to put a little on your matzah. Take a little piece of your matzah now. And you got to know what it tastes like to live a bitter life. So you're going to take some, you're going to dip some of your, put it on top of a matzah. What's that little bit? What is this? What is this little drop? What?
Should I suffer more?
Yes, you should suffer more. Where's yours? You want to have a big bite. You want to really know what suffering is like. Behold, I'm ready to eat. Oh, you didn't eat, did you? You don't do anything without saying blessings first. You gotta learn. You learn that you say blessings first. And so we say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat maror. Blessed are you, our Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us by commanding us to take a big bite of our maror. That's that hot. Know what it tastes like. Now, before you, on the plate, you have some charoses. And you take some charoses, and then you got to put a little bit more of the maror on. Now, let me tell you about charoses. Charoses is essentially a mixture of, well, it could be all kinds of things. It really doesn't have, a real recipe. The recipe here you have is apples and a little bit of wine, and well, I don't know if they made it with wine. I'm not sure what they made it with. but apples and nuts, and it's supposed to be symbolic of the maror, the mortar in between the bricks, and reminder of the slavery that we had to build bricks and we had to make bricks. And if you will take that and put some carosis and some of the maror on the same one, because to emulate Hillel, and you'll see on your Seder plates, by the way, that we haven't talked about, that there is a bone on there that represents the Pesach, the lamb that we read about, that they took the blood and wiped it on the doorpost. Interesting enough, the lamb was a sacred animal to the Egyptians, and we turned around and used it to protect ourselves. And the matzah reminds us of slavery and the getting out quickly, and the maror of the bitter life. And now we take all of these, and by the way, on your Seder plate, you will notice that well, I'll tell you about it in 1 second. And what you're going to do is this time, since we have said the blessings already, you get to take a big bite of all three of them together. So you're going to take a bite, and then you will notice on your Seder plates there that you have an egg. Egg is symbolic of, don't tell me Easter, folks. Egg is what?
New life.
Oh, another genius in this world. A new life, life starting all over again. The springtime of the year, animals being born, the gift that God has given us in every way. And so you're allowed to, I don't know how you can do that, but you're allowed to eat it, and one person at the table can eat it, or you can share it with others, eat it to begin with. And we're ready to begin to eat, and I'm not sure where they are. So what we're going to do is the following. You'll come over and get some soup. You got soup, you got chicken, you got some matzah meal kugel is what it is. It's apples and, oh, it's good. It's sweet. And then you have some vegetables over here. And then you can come back and get your dessert later. You don't have to get it all right now. So let's see. Where was the table with the genius? He was over here, wasn't he? You get, because of the great answers that you gave, you get to go first. How's that? Go take your table over there. And because kids are you hungry? Go take your mom and daddy, okay? And take the rest of the people at your table. And then I'll come around and get the rest of you. If some just want to go up and get some soup, you can go get some soup first while the rest of them are picking out. Okay? In the meantime, if one of you will kind of collect all the haggadahs and put them in a safe spot so that they don't.
Elizabeth doesn't know.
You don't know? Oh, Elijah is the prophet that went up to heaven, went out, so to speak, in a fiery chariot. And the question was that he didn't really die. And not that he didn't really die, but God says, look I want you to be the forerunner. I want to know when the people are ready for peace. And how are we going to know when the people are ready for peace? One of the ways is I'm going to come to you and say, are you a nice person? You got to think about whether you're a nice person. Are you a nice person?
I don't really know. Sure.
You're here, aren't you? You're not out in the streets pushing drugs, are you?
No, sir.
Rabbi, Your Highness would be okay. All right, you are a nice person. Look at how you use your language. That's nice. It's very nice. So Elijah will know when he comes down and people are all nice to him. And he'll go around from place to place and see if they're ready for him by whether they welcome him, whether they open their doors. Or he's going to come down and it's going to be terrible. It's going to be terrible. Everyone is, packing a 6-shooter. Wait, we're pretty there. We're almost there. And then Elijah will come because the Messiah will be called for. And that, by the way, is one of the differences between Judaism and Christianity. The difference between Judaism and Christianity really is, was Jesus the Messiah? Or is the Messiah going to come yet? And that's where it stands. Some say he was the Messiah. Some say not yet, because peace hasn't come to the world. Now, there is a cup set aside. We call it the cup for Elijah. And the cup for Elijah is, well, sometimes some families fill it. And they say it's a fifth cup. Where there are 4 places or 5 places, should we have 4 cups or 5 cups? And that's one of them. And then there are some traditions, like my tradition, which says the cup of Elijah isn't filled yet. That the cup of Elijah, and the peace that Cherry is working on in the peace studies, is the only way peace will come is we all get together and contribute a little bit. So you're going to go around, and everybody's going to put a little bit of wine in that, because they're going to participate in bringing peace. Okay? And I'm on the bottom of page 140. And if you can hum along or sing along with me. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishvi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Bimhera Yamamu, Eleinu, Imoshiach ben David, Imoshiach ben David, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishvi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi. And what do you say when great things happen to you? You should say, hallelujah! Great things happen to you tonight? Great things happen to you today? Say great things happen to you so far this year? Better praise. On page 149, 4th cup. Now, in answer to your question over there about women being rabbis, one of the things that has started to happen is the elevation of women and calling attention to them. For instance, on the table, we have an extra cup. Elaine, you want to show them the... we call this the cup of Miriam. Did you know? Somebody gave that to us. You didn't make it, did you?
I bought the cup unglazed and did the design on it.
Oh, let's give Elaine a round of applause
Hands
for
on
the
fire.
design. And the cup of Miriam is a part of a story. And the story is to elevate, but who's Miriam, by the way? Moses' sister. And Moses' sister, wherever she went, they found something that was critical to the Jewish people at the time, wherever they went. And you know what that was? Water. And so in the cup of Miriam now, on many of the tables that are at Seder's, you find a cup of Miriam filled with water. Don't forget how precious water is to us. Did you get it all? You're still working on it. Okay, so the 4th cup of wine, you want to lift up? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei bari ha'amen. Amen. You can take a sip of that. Page 166. As you can see, I've done a lot of skipping. On behalf of the Beth Israel congregation, we want to thank you for putting all this together and organizing it.
Thank you for
Wine and I'm afraid of it.
And know how much we appreciate it.
We're messing with the cosmos.
We dream. We say, B'Shana Haba Yerushalayim. Next year in the city of Jerusalem. And the city of Jerusalem, again, as we talked about, will be spread over all the earth, and all people will know peace and will experience peace with one another. And if you are able to stand up, just like America has dreams. And we're going to reach out and touch the person next to us and hold their hand. Oh, beautiful for May indeed you know peace. May you know peace in your life. May you know peace in the world around you. May you be a slave who says, no more slavery. Out of slavery, I will change the world. And that I don't need to be who I once was. I can be something different. And I can change all of the world. And know that linked hand in hand, one another, that we can make a difference in the world. And we can make light out of slavery. And then we can take eternal values such as listed up here, that your life is diminished when others suffer, or that you have to banish slavery not only in the world around you of people, but in your mind as well. That tonight you have experienced a meal of freedom, and we've changed darkness into light. And then we bring order to the world. And we take stories, and stories feed us. The stories make us different. And we take history, and our job is to make that history live and never to be forgotten. Indeed, may you go from blessing to blessing, from world to world. And we all say as a congregation,
Amen.
Amen. May you be blessed on your way as you go, as you have been blessed on your coming. Thank you for coming. If you can kind of collect the agatas and put them over there on the far side where they're red, I would appreciate.
Rabbi Roberts, thank you.